Welcome to the Tarot Talk. I'm Rebecca Brown in the Parrot Encounters Network Tarot House. It's Monday night and we're having a Cinco de Mayo celebration tarot style. I am so excited to welcome my special guest this evening. He is an educator, visionary, new thought leader, artist, and the creator of the best-selling modern classic Voyager Tarot deck. It's James Wanless, everybody. James, welcome to the Tarot Talk.
Hey, thanks, Rebecca. Thank you. Cinco de Mayo, yay! Where's my margarita?
Right? It's an honor to have you on the show. It's so great to see you. Thank you so much for coming on. And you know Tarot Tim is in the house with me. Hey, Tim.
Hi, everybody.
Tarot Tim, okay.
Okay, yes. Well, speaking of margaritas, drinking game alert, my guest won't know it, but anytime anyone says this word, take a sip of your alcoholic or caffeinated beverage from your Ace of Cups.
Oh, wow. Beautiful. Nice.
You know, James, you sound to me a little bit like George Takei. Has anyone ever told you that?
Who?
George Takei, the guy who's on Star Trek. Anyway.
Oh, those guys. Yeah, well, I am known as Captain Pick-a-Card, so...
Oh, okay. There you go. So, James, tell the viewers a little bit about yourself.
Oh, where should we start? Maybe where should we end? Well, I mean, my tarot career started kind of accidentally, but there are no accidents, right? But... my great teacher, Angeles Arian, many people don't know of her, but she was my original tarot teacher in San Francisco in 1977. Mary Greer, who's a real tarot luminary, was in the same class, and some other people, and she just passed away last week. And we were faculty members together at the California Institute of Integral Studies, the mouthful in San Fran. And she was doing the tarot. And I said, well, you know, frankly, I hate cards. I am not a card player. Poker, I don't even know how the hell you play. I didn't like Canasta the Cat. I still like cards. Anyway, so I said, well, I'm desperate. Please, can I have a reading? And she consented because she's doing that professionally. And it so turned me on. Mm-hmm. You know, like I found out my life cards were the Chariot. Number one, I'm a 7. And like, whoa, yeah, I'm a traveler, I'm a charioteer, I'm a voyager, you know. And then she put that together with I'm a Taurus, which is the Hierophant card, typically. So here I was, the Hierophant teacher and the chariot traveler, so I became the traveling teacher.
Perfect.
I fulfilled the prophecy, basically. But I was hooked on the cards back then in 77. Long time ago. Yeah.
Yeah, tarot has a way of getting under your skin that way. I was the same way. It was started out as purely curiosity for me, and then fast forward 10 years later, here I am, you know. So, yeah, that's great. So we definitely have to discuss your deck, the Voyager Tarot, available now pretty much everywhere at this point. It is a bestseller, and it really is a modern classic. I mean, I found that so many readers have this deck. And I think that really, it really speaks to everybody. And it was funny because between the two of us, Tarot Tim and I, we really have an extensive deck collection. And the Voyager Tarot is the one deck that I think, so far anyway, that he and I have found that we have in common, that we both have this deck. And it was just funny when I had told him that you were going to be on the show. He was like, oh, I have the Voyager, and I have the Voyager too. And it was pretty cool. So.
You sure it's not the Voyager Tarot?
The what? Oh, the Voyager. No. Well, Tim might have that one, actually. We have very different tastes, so I don't know. He probably does somewhere.
Well, you know, it is a great collector's item, tarot deck, so you guys know that. I mean, Tarot Tim, how many do you own, actually? 50?
I can see, like, 13 sitting on this shelf, but I have a bunch of them in a drawer in my filing cabinet. I've never counted.
Well, it's funny. One of my decks, one of the printings of Voyager, about 10 years ago, it's the big box version. I wish I had it right here. That's actually worth $500 now for that deck, that copy or that print, you know. So I got a bunch of them in the closet. I'm waiting really hard for money.
Oh, that's funny.
Voyager's been to a lot of different printings, and I finally, the cards are a lot smaller now than the originals. Mm-hmm. And my publisher, I was not real pleased with my publisher the last 5 years. They were too dark, the cards. And I was hammering them, and finally this year they got a female CEO. Interesting, because all these guys wouldn't listen to me. But the female CEO of Fair Winds said, yeah, sure, come on, check out our print run, blah, blah, blah. So Voyager Tarot right now is the new printing of it is really a lot like the original. And this is the first time this has happened in years. So I'm like, wow, I'm celebrating.
That's great. So what printing are you in now?
Oh, you know, it's probably at least 30.
Oh,
I mean, it's been around 30 years, so probably at least once a year. So, but printings are different. I've had them when I was a self-publisher for 16 years. I had them printed in China, like most decks are, and twice in my 16-year career of the publisher, the decks came 5,000 of them, you know, off the boat, whatever, uncollated, meaning totally out of order.
Yeah.
And like, oh my God. So, you know, people aren't going to buy decks that are uncollated. So, yeah, that was but I hired the handicapped. I got, you know, handicapped people, and they put the cards on a big board, and they, you know, then they just match the cards with the cards on the board. It took them forever, but they never made a mistake. And it's one of the great setbacks of my publishing history was hiring the handicap for this kind of thing.
Oh, it's funny. Yeah. Well, it's so great. And there is so much light and life in your deck. And what I love about it is that my feeling about the Voyager is that it really pulls together imagery that is so everyday. Like, you know, it's relatable. It's things you've seen before and can relate to, like beautiful flowers and mountain scenes and the people. It's multicultural. And I love that. I love when tarot meets the everyday, ordinary experience. And that's what my blog, even 365 Days of Tarot, has been about, really showing how tarot and everyday life are not only connected, but they're inseparable. And I love that. And the Voyager Tarot deck does that in, I feel, such an amazing way. And to me, it's like this kaleidoscope of these snapshots in time that make up this human experience. And I love it. I love it. It's just great.
I like the kaleidoscope of the human experience is very well said.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's the everyday experience
right.
that Voyager does.
A lot of people, like this is the number 5 card, the Hierophant, because it's the 5th, right, of May. And people look at cards and they go like, God, I can't, it's just too much. It's too busy. It's chaos. And I said, well, have you ever checked out your life, by the way? And have you gone outside, checked out the street and what's going on in town, in the cities? It looks a lot like this. It's a mix of people, ethnic, racial, cultural stuff. And that's what I wanted to do, is make Voyager very representative of our everyday experience.
And it's beautiful. It's these little pieces just put together in this beautiful, I love it. I love it. It's pretty amazing. Yeah, and
this was done pre-Photoshop, before Photoshop. You know, it's kind of like, wow, that's old art. This is ancient art. You know, I mean, it's not cut and paste. You know, and my artist partner, who knew nothing about the tarot, very cool. The Fool, 0 knowledge, which is perfect.
Right. Actually, I was going to ask how that worked out. That's kind of nice.
It worked out. Well, he listened because I was the emperor, and I said, Ken, we want the magician, and the magician, and then I'd shove him all these images of the magician, like 50 different possible symbols, and then he would just intuitively, like the Fool, knowing nothing intellectually, would start to put these things together, and I was always there. And if I didn't like it, I said, Ken, I don't think I like that, but that's cool. Let's keep that in, and what about that? And that's the way we worked, and it took 4 years of putting this stuff together. I mean, it took 1 year just to do the major arcana. And I said, you know, after that, I was kind of like done. I said, this might be it. It's enough. It's already enough. But people kept pressuring me and all that, and I realized having a full deck was better. But God, 1 year just to do 22 cards. It's good to be the fool. I must tell you, the key to life is the willingness of the fool in us to just jump in. Just start the damn thing, because who knows what's going to happen anyway. But so many people kind of figure it out and visualize it and all that, and I just say, just do it. Just jump in, and life is messy. Get messy. Who knows? Make mistakes. And in that process, you get it, and you got the ball rolling.
That's right. That's right, and I love that. Well, and the Fool has a special significance for Tarot Tim. Even he's got here. Tim, show the people your tattoo. Maybe.
Whoa. Wait, I can't see that.
It's a little blurry, but it's the Fool. The Fool on his arm.
Wow. Well, talking about tattoos, because I've been around so long, I have some interesting stories. Like I did a reading for a beautiful young woman a couple years ago in Portland, Oregon. And she said, "Oh, God, I've got a Voyager tattoo." And I said, "Well, that's interesting. Of course, show me." And she said, "Well, it's kind of on my butt." I
was going to say, where is it?
Show me. I know. But it was the DNA. It was the backside of the card.
Oh.
She got this tattooed on her lower back, so it wasn't really on her. But I took pictures of it. I look kind of funny, probably. This professional thing happening and taking pictures of a woman bending over. But with that DNA, it was really cool. Really, really cool. So good for you, Tarot Tim. I like it.
I actually love this back.
Uh-huh.
I think it's so interesting that a lot of people think, like you said, the chaos and it's too busy and it's too this, but that ties everything together, because that is human experience down to our core.
You got it. And when I saw it on the cover of a magazine in 1980. Yeah. And I said, if I ever make a deck, that's going to be the backside, because it's such a beautiful mandala, but it's real. It's not a figment of somebody's imagination. It's what makes us us, and it's got 10 points on it. So my idea with the tarot is when you play with the tarot in a positive, empowering way, you see the 10, the number 10 that we are born with. We're born a 10. This is top. And then, of course, it got reduced by life. But to me, a great tarot way of working with it is to see the beauty, the complexity, the colorfulness, and the genius, the natural genius that we are. And that's what the tarot does for us. I love it.
I do too.
And it really is reminiscent of a kaleidoscope.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Pardon me?
And speaking of the core, I know, Tim, you brought the core. I think that segues into what I love to start off by asking each guest on the show. Is I love to start things off with asking the guests what they feel lies at their core as readers. So, James Wanless, in one word, what do you feel lies at your core as a reader?
Curiosity. Curiosity. I want to know. I think the question of questions is, who am I? Who are we? And why are we? And what's the point, anyway, of our existence? The ultimate questions of who am I? Why am I here? What's the point of my existence? And asking the tarot, whether it's for myself or with the clients, who are you and why are you here? And the cards reveal dimensions of us that we a lot of times don't even think about, So, and my way of reading the cards is question and answer. So it's no layout. So it's all based on curiosity. If you don't have questions, you've got no answers. And to me, it's all about the questions. 78 cards give us the 78 questions of life. And if you spend your life asking those questions of yourself and questing to get answers to those questions, you're going to live an adventurous whole life. It's going to take you to that state of wholeness. Beautiful stuff.
I love that.
Yeah, I love that. Well, that's the Fool. Yeah, the curiosity and the
Fool, exactly.
That's
questions. Yeah.
A lot of people have that negative connotation for the Fool, that kind of an airhead, doesn't look where he's going, all that stuff. I look at it completely like the fool really knows that he's watched over by spirit and blessed, so he can walk bravely through life without worrying about falling off the cliff because he's going to be fine when he lands.
He trusts. She trusts. And most of the time we don't trust. We want to make sure everything's safe and everything's going to be perfect and and we can't control that. And we think we're control freaks mostly. and the fool child, or in Voyager, the fool child, just believes and trusts in the goodness of the universe, and does take that leap of faith. But sometimes we do fall on our head. But how do we learn? We learn by falling down and by making mistakes. And that's part of the deal. Yeah, I agree with you, Tarot Tim, that the fool is the key to life, the key to the tarot, for sure. Yeah.
I love the answer. Yeah, very good. Well, it's Cinco de Mayo, and I love a theme, so I thought it would be fun to have a discussion on the fives of the tarot. Five is cropping up everywhere, not just in the tarot, but the five-pointed star, the figure of man with the outstretched arms and legs, the symbolic of the, integral personality, the human microcosm, and the five elements. So five definitely plays a significant role in the tarot. It's the Hierophant, and also Temperance, and the Minor Arcana, as it falls in the middle of that tarot line. So, I wanted to discuss the fives of the tarot. And I feel that...
Good idea. Good discussion.
Okay.
This is not denial tarot. Denial tarot is when, I don't like those cards, and if I get a bad card, put it back and let's get a good card, Like, come on. Grow up. Get a life and learn. And learn through mistakes and setbacks and all those number fives that we love to get.
Right. Yeah, so so do you feel that the fives of the tarot, so what role do you feel the fives in the tarot play?
Well, it's funny. When I got on the spiritual path way back in the early 70s in Nepal and India and those places with the Tibetan Buddhists, they say there's 30 some odd levels of consciousness. Okay, fine. The human consciousness is fifth, number 5 from the lowest. From the lowest. And above that, but they also said that number 5 that we are, and even when you look at the self and the fifth dimension of our consciousness, is really the key to stepping off into higher consciousness. So 5 has always been an incredible number, just as a number, 5 fingers, 5 toes, 5 senses, 555, and so it's symbolically amazing number, really. And then to put it together with the 5 cards of the fives, the Hierophant and the other fives, that's the wisdom book right there. If we all master those lessons, the fives to me are lessons, then we become the master, the Hierophant, the great teacher, the wise figure, the sage, the priestess, and all that kind of good stuff.
That's right. Yeah. So
Perfect sense.
So do you feel that the fives are kind of like... I kind of view the fives as the tipping point, I think, in that Minor Arcana line, where it's like you have the struggle and the... but what are you going to do with it? What are you going to learn from it, which pulls from the Hierophant? And then what are you going to create with it, which I feel pulls from Temperance. Mm-hmm. So let's start with the five of Worlds. What role is this 5 in the tarot?
In Voyager Tarot, it's would be the 5 of Pentacles.
Correct.
In classic Tarot, the circle with the 5-pointed star. In Voyager, because it's collage art, these are 5 different planets, Earth planets. Those are the worlds. There, and in Voyager I call the card because Voyager follows the basic structure of tarot, but I call the cards differently. Like I don't call the Temperance card Temperance, I call it Art or something like that. But that's not much difference. So the 5 of Worlds or the 5 of Pentacles I call Set Back, and God, we had fun it's kind of perverse fun, I gotta say, because we kind of try to put every disaster we possibly could into this card. I shouldn't be laughing because it might all be coming true here. But there's earthquakes and forest fires and abandoned villages. Oh, this hurricane down here. huge hurricane here. But the 5 Earths represent the new seeds, the seeds of life that come out of these setbacks. Like in that great Yellowstone fire, there were seeds that don't open unless they're under an insane warm temperature. It's not going to happen unless there's a forest fire.
Right.
So a lot of times our greatest setbacks for me are our greatest growth opportunities. These setbacks are seeds for evolution, for change, for growth. So, and in fact, I really look at the setback card actually as the opportunity card. Because, you know, we have setbacks every day. I mean, even, I can't tell you how many setbacks we have every day. But it's about how you deal with setbacks. It's like in Aikido, you know, in the martial arts tradition, it's one step back, setbacks, sit backs, go back with the that's going. Don't try and stand up and get broken. Just go with it. And then going back, you've gone into strategic retreat. And once you're in that retreat, then you have a whole new perspective. Like, oh, wow, oh, there's the open door. Let's do that. Let's go through there. So to me, if life would be different for all of us, if every time we have a disappointment, every time we have a setback, a negative thing happening, look at it as a golden opportunity. It's an ore, opportunity, resource, and energy. It's a golden ore there. And that's changed my life. Absolutely changed my life. And I got to tell you, I have one quick little story. After Ken and I took 4 years to make Voyager, we went to New York City. We bought our suit, put on a tie, because all the publishers, U.S. Games, and all these cats are there. And present Voyager to the publisher. And none of the publishers liked it. It's not, who knows why they didn't like it. You know, it's their problem. But that was a setback. And literally we had to fly back to California, where we live in the San Francisco Bay Area. And that was a disappointing, the 5 of Cups setback. But I said, you know, this is opportunity, opportunity, opportunity. And so I didn't quit or get upset or go crazy. I just kept showing the cards. I kept showing them at art shows, Voyager. And one day, some woman calls me, a client of mine, I guess. She calls me one morning and says, James, I have a lot of money, she said. And I said, that's an interesting concept. It says, I have a lot of money, and I'd like to invest in the printing of these cards, and can you do it?
Ah.
And
so you met the Queen of Pentacles, the Queen of Pentacles. Yeah.
The Empress, in a sense, came to my rescue.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but that was the best thing that ever happened. So the first 16 years of Voyager, I published them myself. Because if you give your baby away to a publisher, who knows what's going to happen.
That's it. Right.
You know, it's giving away your firstborn, sort of.
Well,
so, setback equals opportunity and victory, if you're willing to look.
If you're willing. Well, and that persistence that you had mentioned, just that you kept at it and we're not going to let it go, that's very Pentacles to me also, just the really digging in your heels. That's that Taurus, you know? The Taurus will endure anything. Yeah. Steady as she goes, yeah. Well, and correct if I'm wrong, but it was a setback. Wasn't it an illness that kind of led you to the Voyager, the creation of this deck in the first place?
Yeah, wow, you've read some...
was I reading that? Oh, I did my research. Yeah, I was reading that, yeah. So tell us about that.
This is back when I was traveling. I mean, I quit my job as a professor of political science in the early 70s. I just quit. My intuitive voice said, go, get out of here. So I went to India, and immediately I got hepatitis. So talk about setback, and I wanted to go trekking in Nepal, the big mountains, and that's not going to happen. Talk about disappointment. Right. Talking about feeling negative, talking about feeling oppressed. Those are all words of my 5-number cards. And so it was because of hepatitis I got invited, or I said yes to going to a monastery and lying around and sitting around for a month doing the Buddha gold light meditations. And I got out of there in a month, and I was totally healed with no medication. And that totally changed my life. I was on the spiritual path, you know, and that eventually led me to the tarot. So again, setback equals opportunity. Absolutely. Clearly it does.
I love that. Well, and disappointment also. I think this kind of segues into the other 5 of the tarot, the 5 of Cups, which I feel is heavy. It's like a heart-heavy card to me.
Yeah, this is the 5 of Cups. It's got 5 broken cups in here. a rose of hope that's kind of wilted and it's muddy and but this card is very related to Buddhist psychology. I'm a real fan of a lot of Buddhist philosophy and way of looking at life, and in that monastery I learned that, because we meditated half the time there, on letting go of our emotional attachments to things and situations. And so when you have an adverse situation, the disappointment card is, the reason you're disappointed is because your ego, your social self, your ego self is attached to that outcome. And this card is saying, yes, you're devastated by it, but you've got to learn how to let go and let God and know there's a higher reason, a higher order, another path that's here. But it ain't easy to let go of the attachment that we have to the expectation. So this is a really great psychology lesson here, because when this card comes up saying, so what expectation am I hooked on, addicted to, or expectant of, and attached to, and can I release that? Release, which is not easy, and a lot of times takes time, that's for sure.
No, yeah, that release is not easy, and I feel, again, that would make, to me, that's what makes it kind of the tipping point in the middle of that tarot line. What are you going to do? What are you going to create with this? What are you going to learn from? Yeah, I love that. So how about the... Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, yeah, when something is broken, like 5 broken cups, like your life, something in your life has been busted, broken. Well, that's an opening. Because a lot of times our cups are perfect, but they become containers, they become jails, if you will. The same old, and you die out of these habit patterns that are status quo. But when there's a break, wow, then you can, and I know one of my greatest lessons, graphic things about cracks, and breaks being opportunities, is if you're in Hawaii and you go out on a lava field, there's nothing on a lava field. But when there's a crack in the lava, there's plants coming up through there. That's where life springs forth, when things break up, break down, and are broken. Hooray for disappointment!
Hooray for the 5 of Cups! Yeah.
We love it. Bring it on. Bring it on.
I love that. So, okay, and then the 5 of Crystals. I know in your deck you have the Swords suit as crystals. We have the 5 of Crystals as negativity, which is very mental act.
Nobody likes to get those 5 of Swords, do they? I mean, those swords are killers. Well, the mind is a healer as well as the slayer, But with Voyager, swords, I don't know. I didn't like those cards, frankly. I was like, oh my God, come on. So anyway, I got rid of the swords and turned it into crystals. So the 5 of Crystals is called negativity. It's the negative mind. The negative mind. And that I really got in the Tibetan Buddhist monastery, because all day long we would meditate on the negative mind and how we would criticize ourselves and put down ourselves and put down other people, and the inner critic is alive and well in our psyche. There's no doubt about it. But when this card comes up, it's kind of like saying, hey, wake up, wake up to the inner critic and say hi and goodbye, by the way. So I think most of the negative cards, I think, in tarot, don't you think, are mental. Are most of the negative lesson learning cards swords? I think they are.
No, yeah. I absolutely think so. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I don't mind these cards coming up, because it's the truth. We all got this inner character, this inner demon. And when I get that, I'm saying, okay, so what am I negative about it? When I see it, I boot them out. Just get them out. Of course, the inner critic will come back. I mean, it's not like we're pure and it's going to go away, but it's such a good reminder to remember, that we're not perfect and we have to grow, and we grow through these adversities, these negativities, these cracks, these setbacks, if you will. I do too, and I love the swords suit in general, because to me, I feel that so many times the sword suit has pointed the way. Like, for example, I see the swords as kind of the swords and the mental, the logic. I see that as kind of an antidote to the feeling
ego of the cups. Like, for example, the Seven of Cups, that kind of deep psychological stuff, like your stuff that you're stuck in. I see the Seven of Swords as kind of being the antidote to that, like that clarity and the logic and therapy even, like really working through that cup's murkiness. I think the swords cuts through it. Yeah. So
swords are very pointed, yeah, which is for better or for worse. I mean, the sword mind devastates and kills. I mean, all wars are a result of some mental concept, an idea. Hence swords, but swords can cut through the crap, like you say, and clarify, like, oh, wow, aha, aha, I can see it, you know. So a sword is a very apt, I think, I'm going to move around here for a second. I think swords are very apt kind of symbol of the mind. I just feel better a little bit with crystals, because, well, they're sharp too. I just think all of our technology is all based on crystals, you know. And so I'm looking for something here. Oh, I found it. I'm sorry, I'm moving around.
No, you're all right. I like it.
Okay. All right. I'm coming back. I'll be back. Okay, here we are. Yeah. Okay, there we go.
I think that swords are very cutting, but the crystals, while they can also cut,
oh yeah,
they can also be used to direct the energy
in
a much more precise fashion than a sword.
Well, crystals are very sophisticated energies. I mean, crystals receive information and transmit information. And they're multifaceted. I know, I'm not going to be critical or anything like that, but I just think that swords are kind of, I understand they're terrific in terms of the symbol. I just think this is the 21st century. This is the 21st century. And then what my whole philosophy of any tool is keep it relevant by bringing it up to date without sacrificing the essence of it. So Voyager is definitely a tarot. Some people may not think that, but it's totally constructed on the tarot. I just put different clothes on people with it, you know, and instead of swords, they're carrying crystals, for example. But it's the same thing, basically the same thing, you know, absolutely. But I'd say one thing about, like the negativity card, is like, oh my God, no, the critic and I'm being negative and blah, blah, blah. But everything in life has a light side and a dark side. So every so-called negative card, in my opinion, has a tremendous positive quality to it. So negativity, to turn it around, would be the positive use of no. The positive use of no. Because when you're saying no in a positive way, you're really saying yes to something else. And so when I get that negativity card, I'm saying, like, okay, how am I using no? Am I using it in a negative way? Or can I use it, or it reminds me how to use it in a positive? If you can't say no, if you don't have boundaries or whatever, and if you're not discerning, or, you know, then you're toast. You know, it's a great mental quality to say, no, that's not for me. No, I'm not going to go that way. It's wonderful to say yes, but sometimes you have to say no to say yes.
Oh, absolutely. Well, yeah, and there's a lot of freedom in being able to say no. But I agree. I think there's even more freedom in being able to say yes. And so I love that. Yeah.
Right. And not just to say yes, you're really also saying no to something else. I mean,
exactly.
No go hand in hand. You can't have one without the other. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, well, and I love the crystals for the sword suit because, like we said, the crystals are very, like, healing, and it's about information and the foundation of things. Like, yeah, the structure of a crystal is very, very much swords-like, sword suit, logic and science, and yeah.
I was just working yesterday, and over the weekend I was doing consultations, readings in Scottsdale, Arizona, and God, driving around, walking around that old town of Scottsdale. I mean, it's like rock heaven. I mean, talk about crystals. I mean, we're talking mamas. We're talking, there's even a church there called the Rock Church. You know, I'm personally a believer in the Church of Tarot, but, you know, but to see, I mean, that town was like, whoa. I mean, it kind of throbbed and vibrated with all those crystal stores. It was incredible, really incredible. I don't know why I bring that up, except they're powerful stuff. Really.
It is. No, I love them. Yeah, I have them all over the house, and They're friends. Like, I love them. Yeah.
Well, what I did with the Voyager crystal negativity card, you know, I had some dark crystals, I had some broken crystals, and then I had fool's gold. Fool's gold here. Like, wow, that looks so beautiful. What's that? You know, well, dude, that's not real. You know, which is symbolic of a lot of times our projections of what we want to see being the truth, and it's not. So a lot of times this brings up our delusions, and instead of sensing, you know, a lot of people are intuitives, but a lot of times our intuitions are projections of what we want to see, frankly. You know, so it's a real reminder. The tarot is a great reminder through the cards we get of trying to see the truth rather than seeing what we would like to see, which is a normally human, you know, thing to do.
That's what you've got to, when you're doing the readings, that's my big issue, is making the client understand the reality of it. Of course, down south we call it being Scarlett O'Hara. You're just not going to deal with it today, it's tomorrow.
Not today. Tomorrow, I like the manana complex that's there. But people, it's hard to see the truth. But the truth shall set you free. But first, it will piss you off. You know?
I think that sometimes we get so stuck in that comfort zone, we have to have a 5 show up and give us that spiritual 2x4, get us out of it and make us look at the other possibilities.
I like that spiritual 2x4. That is a great and I call it 2x4 therapy. Don't you get it? Do you get it? Do you get it? We have to be hit over the head a lot of times before we get it.
Yes, I can be really stubborn.
I mean, I love the so-called negative cards. I mean, because they wake us up. They break us out of our comfort zone. And I always call it, most people die by comfort, death by comfort. Death in sofa with a clicker in their hand. You know? And the tarot is for people who want to grow, evolve, and change, and that all requires breaking things up and using breakups as opportunities that are there. So I love those. As a matter of fact, if a person's reading is so great, all the cards are fantastic, I'll say, okay, what could go wrong?
Yeah.
What's the flag card? Give me the watch out card. And I do that probably in every reading. You know, and I don't care what kind of card it is, it's going to represent something to watch out for and pay attention to, because that is the truth.
It is, and I find that the fives, the challenges of the fives in the tarot really test your mettle, test how serious are you, and really they're kind of handed down like the lessons from the Hierophant. Really, I feel to test your spirituality, or to test your seriousness, your mettle. Speaking of the Hierophant, I know that's one of Tarot Tim's favorite cards. Which I say sarcastically. He has issues with the Hierophant. But that's really the big 5 in the tarot. So we definitely have to talk about the Hierophant here.
Right. Go ahead, Tarot Tim. Yeah.
Tradition sometimes, you know, I've actually, my opinion of the Hierophant through different decks and stuff has been evolving. I look at it more, it's not the Pope, it's not the bound tradition stuff, it's the shaman for me. It's the person who tries to look in the other worlds and to bring it forward, but you know, every once in a while you get that kind of, in the reading, it's like the restrictive, like, this is, you know, you're bound by these traditions and you have to do it, and that's the best way to get me not to do something is to tell me I have to do it that way. So. Oh
God, don't. Yeah, I mean, I think, like you say, it's the Pope. In really classic old tarot, the Pope. It's the patriarch, you know. And one of the 5 cards in Voyager is called oppression, and oppression is what Tarot Tim was just talking about. When somebody says, "Well, you have to be like this or do it that way," to me, that is old authority trying to impose their control upon you, and I don't think we like control, do we?
No.
But that to me is the downside of the Hierophant. The downside, and in Voyager I got the Buddha. It's a Buddha. It's not the Pope, but it's a Buddha, which, you know, whatever. But it's a sage, let's say, and some people say it's the priest. But I like the shaman. I like what you're saying. But a lot of times it does represent the oppressiveness of institution, of institutional anything, institutional religion especially. But any kind of big institutions, we become the slave to this kind of structure, and then we are truly oppressed. And I think the tarot, the tool of the tarot is to free us. It's a liberation tool,
Yes.
Which, by the way, Cinco de Mayo, I always thought it was a liberation day for Mexico. So I Googled it just before I came on the show, Rebecca. And it's not. That's bogus. It's not a liberation day. They beat France in some war in the 5th of some whatever, but it's all about a Mexican Pride Day. So, God, all these years I'm thinking, oh yes, let's get free, and all that, which is a good thing, but not today.
That's funny. So why did you decide to stick with the Hierophant for the Voyager rather than change this key?
To another name, you mean? Like shaman or something?
Like shaman or sage or, yeah.
Yeah, or sage or something like that. Honestly, I was trying to be a little bit traditional. I mean, Voyager is so kind of untraditional in so many ways. And really, just look at the imagery. I tried to stay a little bit traditional. And honestly, if I had to do it again, I would have called a lot of cards differently, particularly in the major arcana. I would not have called I'm not real happy with the Emperor card in Voyager. I think it's very good. It represents old Emperor patriarchal types, and Hierophant also. But if I had to make a deck again today, 30 years later, 35 years later, I'd change stuff. I really would. I really would. But it works. It still works. I mean, come on, But I just, when you look at one thing I love about the Buddha, and all the major cards, archetypes in Voyager are sculpture pieces. And because I am a real chariot traveler voyager of the world, I mean, this is a giant sculpture piece in Sri Lanka, a huge Buddha with a little monk down at the bottom here. But the cool thing about the Buddha, other than Buddhism and a lot of that stuff, which is also an institution and can be very oppressive, is that the Buddha always walks the earth with bare feet. Bare feet. And that I love as a symbol, meaning really down to earth. And if you really want to evolve in consciousness, it's the greatest lessons of life don't come from books, they come from earth experience. And like the number 5s that we experience. And then the other thing about the Buddha always has long earlobes, really long lobes. And which is symbolic of me of listening to the inner voice. And the inner voice of the Hierophant is the priestess, the inner Hierophant, or the priestess priest, if you will. And I even have a doorway back in ancient Egypt where the priestess was. So it's really, going inward to get the message from the inner priestess, and then outwardly, communicating through the throat chakra, because it's Taurus, to communicate what the inner priestess has for wisdom. So, I mean, it's still a great, great, great symbol. That's for sure.
Oh, and I love that. And I was actually going to mention that. I see the priestess in this card, even like the moon. This to me, the moon here.
Well, it's great. The ancient priestesses, and they're even on the columns here in ancient Egypt, have that crescent moon on top of their head, right? Classic tarot, because they draw down the moon. They're drawing down the intuitions, the all that kind of stuff. And so I wanted to put it on top of a Hierophant here as a symbol, but actually this is Venus in eclipse. This ain't the moon.
No, it's not the moon. Oh, I was seeing the crescent moon.
It's Taurus, which is ruled by Venus. Okay. When I saw this Venus eclipse, I said, oh, this is so perfect. Let's stick this on top of the Buddha's head. It's so perfect for pieces, and it's so Venus and so moon-like. Wow. I mean, I just had the greatest fun. I'm a natural symbologist. I'm a natural symbolist. And I would see stuff going through thousands of magazines and just find, ooh, that is groovy. And, let's get that. And when I saw this elephant here, the elephant for the Hierophant.
Elephant. Yeah, I love that.
Who needs a bull in there? We got the bull elephant. So I really went crazy making Voyager. I think although I'm a Taurus, I think I've got 3 planets in Gemini. I think it's more of a Geminiacal tarot, actually, with a lot of possibilities in it.
Right. I love that. Well,
That's probably why I had to have it, them being a Gemini.
Oh, you're a Gemini, Tarot Tim. Oh,
Yep.
Gemini. I mean, Tim and I. Tim and Jim.
I took my first tarot class, 20-something years ago.
Yeah.
And I don't care how long you've been doing something. Sometimes it's nice to go back to the beginning. So last year I took another tarot class, and the teacher brought in a bunch of decks, and one of the decks was yours.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, oh, we have to go on Amazon and get that now. So 30 years later, you still have you still have people discovering this and learning from it, and that's got to be a wonderful thing for you.
Well, it is. I got to tell you, it was Voyager was pretty revolutionary when it came out. It was the first person who ever took my reader's certification course. I'm really a teacher more than anything. As a black man, an African American, and a Presbyterian minister, which I thought was really freaky. But I asked Will, I said, who lives in Atlanta, and I asked Will, I said, why Voyager? He said, damn, it was the first deck I ever saw any black people in there. Because I have a lot of, like you say, multicultural, multi-ethnic stuff in there, and I just think that's more and more relevant today. I mean, look at America. Wow, what a place of diversity. That's for sure. Yeah. But there's so many new decks out there. You guys know. I mean, there seems like there's a new deck every week, and it's really cool. I mean, it's really artistically incredible. I mean, there is so much gorgeous. I mean, these cat decks, the fairy decks, and they're totally attractive and interesting. But me being a Taurus, I like something that's real for my daily life. That's going to work for me. And I mean, as much as I love fairies and cats, and I have cats and all that stuff, that's not where I'm going to go for wisdom, in a way. I mean, yeah, you can get some interesting insights from outside the box, but I want to know something that's going to work right now on the street level, this three-dimensional level that we live in. Because I'm an earth sign, I guess,
Man, I love that. And like I said, I think that the diversity that's in the Voyager speaks to all kinds of people. Because like I said, it's like every reader that I know has the Voyager, and readers are an interesting mix of people, from all different backgrounds and tastes and everything. But the Voyager, I think, speaks to everybody, and I think that's one of the things.
It's true, and actually, I mean, it's funny that most of my work, where I kind of get paid, if you will, is not in America and is not in Europe. It's in Asia. I mean, a lot of my best work is in Japan, China, Taiwan, Hong Kong. They love this stuff, and I started counting up the number of Asian symbols I have in Voyager and Japanese symbols and all that, and there's a ton of them in here, a ton. It's like I was just in Bali. I led a retreat in Bali 2 weeks ago with a bunch of Japanese people, and I said, God, is there anything Bali in Voyager? And I said, oh, of course. There's actually this great monkey dance, the Kechak dance, is in one of my cards. The actor, the shaman card that Tim was talking about. The shaman, the actor, has got the Kechak dance. And it's in there in the corner of the card. I mean, if you go to Voyager, you're going to find everything but the kitchen sink, probably. Maybe I'm just not a cook or a cleaner up or kitchen sink person. I don't know.
No, I love that. Yeah, well, and I think that for me with the Voyager, also, I think some of the imagery is very Guatemalan to me. Like, it feels like that culture. And I was born in Guatemala, and and finding something like that in a deck for me is very rare. I think, I've seen it in your deck, and then also in Doreen Virtue's Saints and Angels deck. She's got the Holly bird on her shoulder for one of the cards, which I think is beautiful. So that's connected with that, and I think that that's also, like I said, it speaks to everybody. There's something for everybody in this deck, and I think that's why it's so
that was the point of it. I mean, even like the Hermit card here in Voyager, it's a Mayan sage. It's Mayan.
Yes.
I mean, I spent almost a year in Guatemala, actually. I had a great shaman teacher in Guatemala, Hector the Stone Man. It's a manuscript I have, and I've never published it. But I was so turned on by that kind of shamanistic approach to spirituality, the caves and the candles and all that kind of stuff. And actually, I'm looking for the integrity card here in Voyager. It's got a Guatemalan woman coming out of a temple. So yeah, you actually saw that stuff.
That's noticing. Yeah.
The tarot is worldwide. It's a global planetary map of consciousness.
Yes.
And for it to be a true map of consciousness in the 21st century, it should represent the multi-level dimensions of ourselves and the world that we inhabit.
Absolutely, yeah. The everyday human experience, the universal language. I see tarot as a language, and
it is a language.
It is universal language, and I love it. I love it. So, James, do you have any advice for readers, new and old, wherever they are on their kind of tarot path, the Fool's journey? Do you have any advice for them or words for them?
Do it. Do it. I mean, and do it with the idea that, which is what I really kind of evolved into with readings. It's more of a conversation. I call it conversational tarot. Cards are great reference points for engaging and interacting. And a reader does not have to be all-knowing. God, no way. But basically have curiosity. Like, I want to know about you. So who are you? So pick a card. And, oh, wow, this card suggests that. But now, how do you feel about it? So to me, I love that interactivity. And, there's a lot of people these days who know a lot. They're pretty hip and pretty wise. And they're not going to go to somebody who wants everything just told to them. Now, I know there's a lot of people that want me or all of us to be psychic and all-seeing and predictive and all that. And I forget it. I call it prediction fiction. I mean, I'm really not going to go there at all. I really look at the tarot, and this is what I would advise, seeing the 78 cards as the map of life. And the readings give us the map of how to achieve love or money or health or enlightenment or whatever it might be, but then follow up on the map with proactive tarot. Do something. So, I mean, I call it fortune creation tarot, not fortune telling tarot. And if you really use the cards as a map, and my basic reading, if somebody wants to know how to achieve whatever they want in life, I break the deck up. I say, okay, pick one card from the mental, the crystals, how to be mentally. Got to get all the cups together, pick a card from the emotions, how to be emotionally. Pick one from the worlds, how to be physical and active in the world. One from the archetypes. It's a 5-card reading that goes through the 5 sections of the tarot. You have a holistic map of how to be, to create your future. And that's what I mean, fortune creation tarot. I mean, maybe I'm a little bit revolutionary with that. I don't know. But that would be my advice. Tarot is the map. But then the idea is to kind of engage your client and say, okay, what are you going to do about it?
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, now you got the map, but maps don't get you anywhere. I mean, tarot is GPS of the soul, but so what? You got to do something.
What are you going to do? Yeah, and I love that fortune creation, because that really calls to my mind the Wheel of Fortune card, Arcana 10, a multiple of 5. So I think that it really, pulls it all together, and I love that. So.
Well, and I think the tarot is actually, to me, it's the story. It's a creation story of life from fool to fortune. That's the journey. A person actually, that's all you really need, frankly, are 11 cards. The Fool card is the modern day hero. Like, what the hell do we know? We're like, what in today's world? So we're all the fool. We don't know, but we try. And we try, but we get to fortune, the end game where we want to go, fortune. But we got to find our magic, the magician. And then we got to get in touch with our wisdom, the priestess. And then what about the feminine side and the emperor and and then what about the lessons of life, the hierophant? So it is the journey of life. That's a great reading, by the way. I mean, an 11-card reading. How are you the fool? What's your magic? What's your wisdom? Just go through those major archetypes. Super reading. Super.
Yeah.
I like that.
Fun.
I always start off every reading, which is just something instinctively I did. It's a 4-card spread. The first card, the querent, and then I do mind, body, spirit, just to see where they're at as a base.
Right.
to start off. Then we can work the issues and what can you work and what can you do. And I always say it's like you said, if it's negative or it's something you don't want, that's why it's showing it to you, so you can be proactive in your life and change it.
Exactly. See, most people think this piece of paper, it's paper, is controlling their life. It's like, dude, it's information. It's information, like you're saying. And once you see the cards, for better or for worse, then you can have, with that information, you have power to make better choices. You know, and that's what it all is about. It's an empowerment tool and not some fatalistic thing that because I got a crappy card, I'm going to be crappy. Forget. It's not the way we do it anymore.
That's what the one word, the curiosity for you, for me, it's always been illumination. I help you to see things that you might not notice because they're kind of in the shadows still.
Yeah, and that's why we like those fives, too, because a lot of those most illuminating cards are the shadow cards. Right. Those fives, those ones we don't want to see. But that's where we're illuminated. Absolutely. God.
Oh, absolutely.
Hey, did you ever see, you know, there used to be these little angel cards, the little ones, you know, they're a little bit like baby Voyager deck, this little deck I call, you know, the baby complete deck, Voyager. I got to send you each one of these, you know, but email me your snail mail address and I'll send you a baby Voyager deck. I love these things. But there used to be a little angel deck. And then, which they might still be around, I don't know, I haven't seen them, but then there came a demon deck. It's really cute as hell. There were these little demons, you know. But it was always the less, they're like fives. All of them were fives. And I just think that is so cool to pick an angel card and a demon card and really see the night and the day about life. And that is illuminating. Good word, Tarot Tim. Illuminating. Yes. You know, I sit on a ball here. I don't have chairs, so you know, don't think I'm nuts, but I am nuts because I like to breathe and I like to move and I like to express and stay young, stay alive, stay fresh, stay green. Which is my other deck, by the way. This the green cards, the sustainability deck. That's another deal.
Awesome.
Yes, thanks.
Oh, that Wands energy. The Wands energy, the Fool energy. I love it. Yeah. So, James, what's next for you?
Well, I really love all my green wisdom materials. I mean, this green deck called Sustain Yourself cards. It's nature cards, 101. Took me 20 years to make. I have my energy path, my doability path, which is sustainable life, the new success, and then my Mythic Mentor. My coach is Green Man, and I have a book called Adventures with Green Man. So I'm really trying to take that out into the world, you know, all this nature wisdom here. And then I'm working on a new book called The Fortune Formula, the 10 Golden Rules of Manifestation in a Revolutionary World. Ooh, that's fun.
Yeah, that's exciting.
That's fun. It's all fun. Why not? And tonight I go to, I do the red-eye flight to Boston because I'm working tomorrow night in Maine. I'm actually doing a Voyager certification thing in Maine. So, you know, I'm on it. I mean, you know, I love this stuff, and you gotta be. I love being busy. Just love being busy.
So all these years later, you've never had the urge to do another deck, or is this it for you? Is the Voyager it for you?
Oh, for tarot, yeah. Although, if somebody gave me enough money, I would do. I've also thought about doing a Voyager 2 deck.
Yeah.
Which would be based upon the gold record that's in the Voyager spacecraft. The Voyager 2 that took all the pictures of our solar system is now beyond our solar system. It has the gold record in there with a bunch of symbols about who we are as Earth people, if any aliens or unearthed people find this gold record on this Voyager. And I thought, God, it'd be fun to make a new deck based upon the gold record that's in the Voyager spacecraft. But then I also thought a digital tarot, Digiro, which would be taking all the Voyager cards and breaking them up. If I found a graphic artist, I'd just take each little symbol becomes a card unto itself. I could have thousands of cards, all flying around on the string, and boom, hit it, you know, like my Voyager app. an iPhone, and like, boom, you know, the card comes up. But, you know, I would love to do that. I just got to get the right people to work with. You know how that goes.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Well, yes. Well, we will definitely stay updated of all your projects and books. And it was such a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. I mean, it's been a blast. And my website's still under, whose website's not under construction, right? James M. There was some guy, James Wanless, up in Canada. I can't believe it. But jamesmwanless.com is where all my Voyager and all that kind of stuff can be found eventually. Thank you.
And that's the way the viewers can get in touch with you is through your website, James M. Wanless.
Yeah, James M. Wanless, WANLESS, jamesmwanless.com. That's the way to do it. Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Oh, Facebook. I am really active on Facebook, you know, all the time.
Oh. No, that's that Gemini, the social networking.
I tweet, I do all that stuff. Thank you. You guys are terrific. I really had a blast.
Thank you. We'll be sure to have all of your links and information up on the tarottalk.com website.
Good.
Tim, how can the viewers get in touch with you?
You can find me on Facebook at Timothy's Tarot, or if you're in the Dover, Delaware area, I do readings out of Bell Book and Candle. It's 678-4545.
All right. Well,
Dover, Delaware. Dover, Delaware. What a place. I worked there once.
Oh, yeah? I love Dover. I miss it. I really do. Yeah. Well, the Tarot Talk Show is every Monday night on the Pair Encounters Network. Be sure to check out our Facebook page and our website, thetarottalk.com, for upcoming shows, archive shows, and guest bios. I'm Rebecca. You can email me at thetarottalkshow@gmail.com and visit my blog, 365daysoftarot.com, dedicated to finding the tarot every day in the everyday. Our word of the night was 5. And Tim, how many times did we say it? You got a tally for us?
Well, I'm afraid there's going to be some alcohol poisoning if they're drinking. I lost count at like 43. So.
Exactly. That is exactly what I got.
Super caffeinated.
Well, it's 5 o'clock almost, and I have to go to the airport right now.
All right.
and get on my 5 flight to somewhere. Something like that. So now we're up to 45, Tim.
All right. There you go. Again, thank you so much, James, for joining us. That's all we have for tonight on the Tarot Talk. Tune in next Monday as we're going to have Derek Hunter on the show. He's the creator of the Chaos Riddle Tarot album. So join us next week on the Pair Encounters Network. So mote it be.